You're gonna find me the best interview you ever had.
Let's hope so. All right, hey everybody, we got a special treat today because today, Jobs Not Steve is actually Jobs with Steve. So my guest today is Steve, and he is a max security prison guard, correct?
Yeah, we like corrections officer, but
Correct. Okay, yes.
yeah, it makes it sound
He
a
is
little better.
a corrections officer, and yeah, so he's going to be with us today, and I just want to say thank you for coming in.
Thanks for
Appreciate
having
it.
me. Honored.
And so this is obviously well. First, I'm going to ask how long have you been doing this?
I just hit 8 years in June, so a little over 8.
8 years you've been doing this.
Yep.
And then I guess one of the first questions I got to ask is what the heck made you want to do this? I mean, I can't imagine you were a little kid, staring up at the stars, dreaming about it.
No, it's definitely not something.
Being surrounded by a bunch of convicts.
It's definitely not something you grow up to be. I mean, I guess policeman, but you don't think corrections officer.
Is that where you started off? Did you want to be a policeman first, and then?
No, to be honest, corrections was where I started. I took a course. I went to WestCon and took a course.
WestCon, for our listeners, is a university here in Connecticut.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sorry.
No, that's right.
So I took a course on Intro to Corrections. Part of that, we toured a couple prisons during the course of the... And
it's like an episode of Scared Straight.
Yeah, almost. A little bit it was. And we went to this one prison, and I just remember seeing this. They asked us if we wanted to tour the segregation unit, and which is basically for guys who got in trouble and they're isolated from the rest of the population.
So the baddest mofo's on the block.
Yeah, in the prison. So they asked if we wanted to tour that, and I remember just this guy being escorted out and brought to the shower or something. They were two officers on either side of him escorting him, and he's just screaming at us because he could see us watching him, and he's, "Don't ever fucking come here!" It's screaming at us the whole time. Wow, that's pretty freaking cool. I don't know if it's my weird sense of humor or something, but I was like, this could be an interesting place to work right here. And then I just kind of turned my concentration for my major into corrections, and that's where we went.
I guess you're right. It is an interesting place to work. I can only imagine that every day is never the same. And is that true, or can it be boring at times too?
Yeah, it actually can be I kind of consider it almost like a Groundhog's Day type deal. Because basically their routine is always the same. They come out in the morning, they have breakfast. They go back. They come out, they have a recreation period. They go back. There's a lunch period in between, for us. And then there's another recreation period in the afternoon. And that whole part is, if everything's running smoothly, it's basically the same thing every day.
Okay.
It's when the shit happens that...
Shit hits the fan.
When shit hits the fan, then all of a sudden it's the friggin' craziest place on earth. But
so how often does shit hit the fan?
Where I work, at least 4 or 5 times a week, probably more than that. That's probably
4 or 5 times a week. So,
that's probably lowballing.
So basically once a day.
Yeah, that's basically it's probably lowballing.
That's
right
only
there.
two Groundhog Days.
Yeah, I guess, but it just when shit hits the fan, it lasts for I don't know,
It's pretty quick, I imagine.
Most of the time, sometimes it's a little longer, but
then
it goes right back to Groundhog's Day.
I haven't heard you about your facility in the news or anything, so imagine.
I'm glad to hear that. But
so, what exactly does your job entail? What are your duties, or what are you doing? Are you in one of those buildings where you're pressing buttons and letting people out? Are you amongst them? Or are you?
It depends on the post you have. There are posts where, right now my post is main control center, and basically, right now I am pressing a lot of buttons, letting people out of doors, letting people in. Also, if if we have an emergency of some sort, like I'm the one that they call it in on the radio, and I have to make sure I get response to the area, like, and yeah, so I get response to the area, and then I have to, like, if they need to go out to a hospital, I have to call 911 and get an ambulance to the facility. If
Is that a pretty regular thing? I mean, I'm surprised you guys just don't have your own ambulance.
we have a medical section, but like if it's something that's beyond their, like they're limited there. Right. They're limited there. If there's something that's beyond, like somebody has a heart attack or something, like we don't have an infirmary that can handle that. We have to get them out of the facility. And then but with that, on other posts, we have where you're literally right in the middle of it. You're in a block.
That's what I'm wondering. Like you know, you see on TV shows and stuff. There's like when the guards are literally sitting or standing amongst like everybody. And
we have that. There's blocks. Like if you're working a block, there's 2 of you in a enclosed bubble.
Yep.
That's in the center of how many cells is it? There can be at least up to 96 inmates in that unit, and at any given time, like there's at least 50. Like when they come out for rec, there's probably like a good 40 to 50 inmates out around you at any time, and it's just you and a partner.
So what? I mean. So that's got to be pretty nerve-wracking. I mean, to be surrounded by, I mean, these are some pretty powerful people. I mean, would you agree? I mean, is it scary? Do you ever get scared?
Oh, I've definitely been scared. Definitely, I mean, I still get a little nervous walking in every single time because it's an unpredictable place. You don't really know what's going to happen in there.
Yeah, and you're definitely outnumbered too. I mean,
at all times, all times, like. In the blocks like that especially, there's 2 of you to possibly 50 inmates, and if they really wanted to, they could take over. They could overpower you and take over that unit, and they wouldn't keep it, cause,
right.
But they could definitely overpower you and do whatever.
So I noticed that you're a pretty big guy. I mean, you seem like you lift weights and stuff like that. Do you do that for work? I mean, is it important? Do you think it's important to kind of
I definitely do.
Like, give an image, like, you know, hey, motherfucker, don't fuck with me. And,
and I'm
like, do you ever feel like you're competing with them? Like, you see them in their cell, like, just doing pull-ups, and you're like, God
honestly,
damn it.
I wish I
now
could.
I got to go home and do more pull-ups.
There's some of them I wish I could compete with, because that's all every day, that's their day.
They just wake up and work out.
They wake up, they can eat, and they work out. They have no responsibilities.
You guys give them low protein diets on purpose.
we honestly we should.
Today's meal is squash and Kit Kats.
Yeah. Again? No. I really wish we could.
We gotta stop feeding these guys protein shakes.
Yeah. No, because like honestly, we do random pat downs and stuff. Like when they're out of their unit in the hall or something, we pat them down. And sometimes you pat somebody down, you're like, Jesus, this dude's friggin' chiseled. I hope this guy keeps it friggin' straight. Like, I don't want to have to fight this guy.
Oh my God. I can only imagine. It's got to be interesting.
It's funny though.
I mean, I imagine because everybody's. I mean, I imagine you're kind of like thinking about that stuff, right? I mean, do you ever? Think,
100%.
Like you're always checking out, and you're like, which guy is going to be the one?
I don't like to say I'm checking out the guys, but
yeah. Well, that's another prison thing that I wonder. I don't know.
Yeah,
is that a true thing? Is that a?
Oh yeah.
You know, you do get a lot of lovers in there or lover corals.
That happened. That actually we had a code, not probably beginning of the summer, that a couple got caught doing that, and there was
not allowed to do that in jail.
No, that is frowned upon, and they ended up they had to call a code, and they both ended up in the SEG unit, and rape kit was in the state police. It was a whole thing.
Yeah. Does that actually happen often? I mean, like
that.
Like like the whole the whole stereotypical like the person goes into jail their first time and it's like, all right, boy, like
yeah.
Is that does that shit really happen?
It definitely happens. I've heard there. I mean, there's been multiple instances where there's been some guy on guy
Yeah,
love,
yeah.
for lack of a better
Whether
word.
it's consensual or not.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes it is, I guess.
So don't drop the soap is a real thing.
Yes, I think so.
Do they actually give them soap?
I mean, they have soap.
I mean, like an actual bar.
Where
I mean, because I would definitely want some grip tape for that shit. if I was
where I
still
work,
into
they
it.
don't actually have like a mass.
I'd want some exfoliating soap, like one with some sand grit in it, so
Yeah,
that I
you're
could
not gonna
really,
enjoy this.
so I could really hold on to it.
No. Where I work, there's actually not like a mass shower area. They have They have like stalls in the unit. So.
Okay.
But that being said, cellies get there's
Is that what you call them, cellies?
Yeah, the two cellmates.
Oh, okay, cellies.
Yeah, they get a little comfortable with each other. There are no female options, so
Yeah. Do cellies
guess-
cellies ever get jellies?
they might.
I imagine that's a thing. Oh, so these guys are. I mean, the people you're dealing with are in there for a long time or life or what? What are you?
Where I work, yeah, it's a mental health facility. So actually, ours range from guys doing short bids to 999 years.
That's a long time. I don't think I could survive that.
Yeah.
Long.
They don't call it life for some reason.
Yeah, it's not. It's only
but
999 years. So
maybe you'll survive it. I don't know. I'd like to meet the guy who does, but
Mother Teresa didn't even make it that far.
yeah. So I don't think these guys are. You'd be surprised. They're kind of like cockroaches. But
yeah. I mean, well, obviously they're survivors. You know, they're in a predicament, and you get to go home and leave that space, and that's got to be hard for you. I mean, to be like, I mean, what's your shift hours? Do you guys do like 12-hour shifts? Or, like, what's your shift like? I mean, are you
so right now
on a certain amount of days, off a certain amount of days?
Nights,
days.
It's a 5 days on, 3 days off is the way our schedule is. So it kind of rotates.
And then do you switch to nights?
No.
On that, or do you
so
stay
basically, it's all dependent on your time on the job.
Yeah.
So, like when I first started, I was on 12 to 8 shift.
Okay.
I did that for almost 5 years.
So night guys stay on night.
Yeah, until you have enough
shift.
time to, about 4 years I was putting in for first shift, which is 8 to 4, and took me like.
So is that kind of like
almost a year?
Is that almost like, like one of the questions I had for you was, is there any way to move up? You know, I mean, is there like in your field, like, is there like a general? Is there?
Oh yeah. It's almost like a military.
That's what I was kind of
military type rank.
So you can actually like
right
rank,
now. I'm an officer.
You can rank up.
Yeah, you go from an officer rank up. You could become a lieutenant.
Oh, so
and from there you become a captain. From there you go to a deputy warden, to a warden, to.
So when you're an officer, which you're an officer,
I'm an
now,
officer.
is that the bottom run or?
Yeah, I mean I don't like.
I mean, I'm not trying to be a
sounds
dick.
terrible.
I'm not trying to be a dick either.
Yeah.
Listen, but so
yeah, right now, I'm at the bottom rung.
So you're at the bottom rung. So now, so is working your way up to pick your shift, like the next step before you start ranking up. You're like, I put in my time, motherfucker. I want the
But there's
the
some
day
people
shift,
who enjoy doing the night shift. They'll stay on. Like there's guys with
those are real sick
15
guys.
years on the job that are still doing night shift. Like they like it for some reason. And they could actually become a lieutenant, or if they wanted to. But some guys just like staying as officers. Like the lieutenant.
Well, I imagine
brings
the
a
night
whole
shift
new
is a
set of
little quieter too.
too.
Right? I mean, the night shift has got to be a little quieter. I mean, less is going on, right? For
the
most part, you hope everybody's sleeping.
Most of the time, they are. Shit happens, especially in a mental health facility. There's just for some reason they're up. Their sleep schedule is off, and sometimes they're up, and you get your random stuff, but more stuff does happen because nobody comes out on third shift, so more stuff comes out. More stuff happens on first shift, first, second shift, which is 8 to 4, 4 to 12. More stuff happens then because they're out and they're
Right.
gathered together. There's
Nice and
30
refreshed
of
from their sleep.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
they're ready to
Yep.
start a new day. Start a new day in their place of forever. So what is what's one of the scariest moments that you've ever had personally? Like, did you ever feel like your life was threatened at any moment or anything like that? Or
I personally haven't ever felt like completely threatened by anybody, but like to me the scariest moments are there's a certain code and for us when officer is like either getting most of the time he's getting assaulted.
kind of like an officer down type deal.
Yes.
Shots fired.
Yeah, exactly.
But you guys don't even have guns.
And that's a now. No, we do not. I mean, not. There's a
Tasers?
couple posts, but they're
Tasers even? Nothing. Just a
pepper
stick.
spray.
Pepper spray and a stick.
No stick.
No stick even?
No,
You don't
no
even.
stick.
Oh man.
Yeah.
You're really out there.
Couple fists.
Oh
I
jeez.
guess. But
Oh jeez, man.
no, you really the pepper spray works pretty well, but that I think that's the scariest thing for me is when, like, if I'm an officer there's posts that you're assigned to where you basically respond to something that's happening in the facility. If a code is what we call, they're all codes. We have certain codes for like
Sure.
if an inmate's fighting, if
Do they
an
know?
inmate,
Do
like,
they know what the codes mean?
yeah,
They probably
eventually
right. They
run
figure
them
it
all.
out.
They eventually run them all.
yeah.
Yeah, they eventually know.
Did they
don't-
change? Did the codes ever change?
No, they've been the same
Same
since I
thing?
started.
Really?
Yeah. We don't try to trick.
Well, yeah. Okay.
Listen, if we tried to trick them, we'd end up tricking ourselves, and people would, no, we can't. We have to.
Next thing you know, you're going in for a riot, and no, this guy's having a heart attack.
Yeah,
They start
like,
start beating him.
Yeah, no. No, yeah, so we can't be doing that. But that's the scariest is when, like, if I'm an officer that's assigned to respond to these sort of codes and stuff, and you hear the one where you know it's another officer involved and he's potentially being assaulted. I don't know. That's always the scariest.
I imagine that gets your blood going.
Oh my!
Like,
It's
the adrenaline rush has gotta be insane.
because you don't know what you're running to either. You just hear a code, a certain area,
And you're just going.
and you go. And
That's got to be kind of. But I mean, I imagine your adrenaline's going so fast, you're probably not even thinking about it.
most of the
You're
time,
probably just going in there, just like blazing.
Most of the time, you're not thinking about it.
Show your guns ablaze.
Yeah, most of the time you're not. But
Start
you're
swinging.
just going and hoping for the best. And
Have you ever had to punch anybody?
I've had to take some inmates down and
Yeah.
throw some shots. I mean,
Do they? I mean, I'm assuming you guys get trained on how to do that, right?
yeah, during the academy they give
So
it's called behavioral management, and they show you like certain techniques to use, certain strikes to try to use and stuff. And
he's like
so
double
they
tap in the
but-
chest and puts the guy to sleep.
We did not learn that one, and I wish they gave us more. They do it in the academy, and I feel like they just kind
And
of.
then after that, they're like, all
Leave
right,
it at
well,
that,
you know,
so.
you guys are on your own now.
Pretty
Have
much.
you ever thought about seeking out any, like, have you thought about it, or have you sucked out, seeked out,
Oh,
seeked out? We didn't. I know all this prison talk. Is
Well, no, now we're back in the cell here.
So, have you ever, seeked out any type of like martial arts or anything on your own, like or anything outside of work?
I've thought about it, and it's tough to find the time.
Yeah.
There are a few guys that do it and stuff, which
They do it because they
I
like it, or they
respect.
do it actually
I think
because they
some like one of
they
them-
just want to be more prepared.
I think part of it's that, but I think some do it just because they like one guy. He's like a world-renowned board breaker. Like he's got like records.
We all know that's a joke, right? We all know that they're just breaking balsa wood.
It's actually straight styrofoam, but they go
Yes.
straight through. But
It's pre-cut. No, I don't even. I'm joking, but we got to get that guy on here as a world-renowned board breaker.
oh yes, that's something
You gotta give me
I've
his
never
number.
seen him do it live.
You got
but
to
I've
give me
just
his
heard
number.
about it.
That's a job that we need to have on this podcast. A world-renowned board breaker. And this whole studio, for the people that are listening, is completely made out of boards. So I'd be really afraid to bring that guy in
We
here.
might bring this place to the ground, actually.
He might just come in here and just demolish it. So many boards.
Yeah, he just might lose his mind.
So another thing I gotta ask is, like, have you ever had any really, like, I mean, imagine, like, it's you know, I mean, you're probably pretty calloused, right? To these people and stuff like that. And do you ever, is there, like, do you create relationships with them? Are there some of them nice to you? Or, I mean,
Yeah, there are inmates I can get along with. I would never say I have a relationship with any of them. Like, I don't ever talk personal life with them. I don't.
Oh no, man! That's like psychological warfare, man.
No,
Like,
I can talk like, hey, did you catch that football game over the weekend? Like, Giants suck or something.
God, well, that's mean, especially if they're not allowed to watch TV.
Oh no, they have TV. They have. Okay. They have it. No.
No, so they do. So they get to watch TV and stuff, and
yeah, they like through commissary, they can purchase things.
Okay.
And
where do they get the money for that?
They're
like family and stuff.
There are people on the outside can put money on their books.
Yeah.
And then
so the person the person that hired them to kill the person.
Yeah, exactly. Like, thank you. Here's so this like, how'd this guy get $30,000? No, but yeah, people on the outside can put money on their books.
$30,000 for Pop-Tarts.
And then some of them can get jobs too, which they can get paid for, like within.
I've heard bad things about that though. I've heard like they get paid like 7 cents an hour. Is that true?
Yes, that's 100% true.
Oh my God, why is that's awful? Right? I mean, what do you think about that? Do you think that's awful?
I mean,
I don't know. I kind of feel like it's awful because, like, well, I guess
I can't expect.
I guess if they're not going anywhere,
if one of these guys are making what I'm making, I'm gonna be pissed. So,
well,
honestly,
to look at it that way.
Honestly,
guess.
I don't
$7
feel bad.
cents. You can't even give them $7.
I don't feel bad for them at all. To be honest, like the fact that they can make anything.
They had the opportunity.
I mean, these guys committed. A lot of these guys committed heinous crimes. Heinous crimes.
Do you know some? I mean, do you know some of the crimes?
I try not to learn them, but eventually you do.
Do you know? Do you even know that? Like, you should probably get to know their names and everything. You're with them, so like,
yeah.
Is it like being a school teacher?
Yeah, I mean, you
learn all the names of the class.
Yeah, it is kind of like.
I guess you don't have to worry about them bumping into you later.
That helps
down the
a lot
road.
with the job to actually know their names, like to give somebody like, because I mean you got to tell these guys what to do sometimes, like
right.
And to be able to like say, "Hey Smith, don't like knock it off," or be like, "Hey,
do they have nicknames?
Inmate,
like Sledgehammer."
Yeah.
And like,
well, they got. I don't call them by their nicknames.
They do have nicknames.
Yeah, yeah. They're between themselves, yes, all the time.
So you call them by their.
I try to call them
their last names.
Mostly last names. Yeah, right. Yeah. Definitely all the time last.
Because otherwise you're like, "Hey Matt," and then like 5 guys turn around.
Yeah, what? What do you want?
Which Matt? Short Matt? Big Matt? Little Matt? Tall Matt? Fat Matt?
Probably some of the nicknames.
Yeah. Oh man. So what's have you, because you like kind of have a relationship with these people or anything, have you ever had like a sad moment in your job? Like something happened to an inmate that you kind of felt bad for, or you cared about, or anything? Like, has there been a sad moment in your job, or is that place just hard as balls, like just everything's hard?
I mean,
everything's hard and nobody has emotions.
There was probably my third year on the job. I had a guy successfully commit suicide, and I responded. I was like, "Well, responding. That's a code too."
I imagine that's really hard to do in a place like that.
Yeah, so I remember
you guys go through so many steps to make sure that they can't do that.
Yeah, but if they really wanted to do it, there's opportunities to do it.
Yeah,
and like this kid, he was young. He was probably like 25.
Jesus, yeah.
And I remember responding to the code. I remember, like, I was one of the first responders there, and like we came in. He had a noose tied so tight.
I was gonna ask, and I didn't want to be insensitive.
Yeah,
and everything,
no, I'll explain it. He tied a noose to his bunk, tied it around his neck like with a towel, and it was super thick. And we have these tools to try to cut it, but like because it was a towel, it was just way too thick.
A tool? I mean, like a box cutter? Like what is?
I mean, borderline. That's what it is. Okay. So like, it's never getting through a towel. Like no chance. And
I'd be afraid that you'd like cut through the towel and cut his jugular
by accident. Like,
and you're like, oh shit! Well,
he was gonna make it.
he was.
No, thought this was a sad moment.
I know. We should make fun of that.
Anyways, so basically, I remember getting there, and we couldn't cut through it, and like you could tell already he was not doing well, and we had to I remember having to lift his legs, lift him up so another officer could untie the knot. And we finally got him down, and I think at that point he was probably already passed, and we brought him because this is one of the times where we had to call outside ambulance and stuff, and we get him to our AP room, which is basically like our admitting and processing area, and anybody that ever comes into the facility comes in through there, and if they leave the facility, they go through there. So that's where the ambulance...
Basically, it's in and out.
Yeah, that's where the ambulance has to come in. We have a garage and stuff. They come in there. We brought him out, and I was actually sent on the trip with this guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I had to, because we always... When we do something like something
in case he comes to and he's faking it or something.
Yeah, here we go. Here's my chance to escape.
Yes,
right. It's worked.
And you got to look out for stuff like that, right? I mean, you can't ever be.
Absolutely.
You always got to be thinking that.
Well,
even in a situation like that, I imagine.
Well, even in a situation like that, to kind of backtrack, when we first go into the cell, you can't be the first person who found him can't go into that cell alone. You don't know if he's faking, and now all of a sudden he's attacking you.
Right.
So they have to wait for people to respond, and you have the correct numbers. We always have to have a 2-to-1 ratio.
That's crazy, man.
Is our thing.
Yeah.
God forbid he was faking. And all of a sudden he attacks you, and it's an officer.
Nobody said that these people are stupid.
No, they're not either.
And they got a lot of time to think, and they got a lot of time, I imagine, to come up with stuff.
You hit that nail right on the head right there. They that's all they have. They think, they listen to us. They know you. They're on top of it. Yeah. They know what they're doing.
Now, so I guess, whose in whose world? I guess. Are you in their world or are they in your world?
I think we like to think they're in ours, but
they
do
they actually rule the roost to a certain extent? I mean,
no, we rule the roost.
Right.
We when it comes down to it, they're gonna do what we want them to do.
Right.
No matter what, they're gonna do what we want them to do. But they have their manipulative ways of getting things they want, and sometimes that might not really necessarily affect us too much. Sometimes it's stupid shit we don't care about. But
I mean, that's
at the end of the day, our safety and security, we run that. They know that.
And you're priority number one, yourself, right? I mean, I imagine yourself.
Absolutely. Me going home and the rest of the officers I'm working with going home is priority one. At the end of the day.
When you go home, how do you deal with that? How do you go from being in this place, this kind of, I would call it an awful place. I mean, I think, right? Anybody would call it an awful place. It's not a paradise. Now, seeing what you're doing, dealing with these people, knowing the things they've done, everything, and just seeing, all that every day, the atmosphere probably sucks. I mean, it's not like you guys have nice curtains.
No, it's almost kind of like
bars, it's concrete,
being locked up yourself.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And that's so basically every day you're volunteering basically to go into prison and spend 12 hours, 10 hours, 8 hours,
8 to 16 usually.
8 to 16 hours. A lot of times 16,
16
hours.
I think actually when I texted you yesterday.
That's nuts.
When I said I got mandated, I did 16 hours.
16 hours. I feel like that wouldn't even. That's not even safe. After 16 hours, you gotta. You gotta start getting fatigued, man. You know what I mean? You're not on your game.
No. You're mentally.
You're probably off your game at the 13th hour.
You're mentally you're tired. It's definitely.
And I imagine that's got to be. I mean, that's when you start making mistakes, right? I mean, stuff like that.
Mistakes can happen like that. Yeah, absolutely.
16-hour shifts. That's insane.
Yeah.
But so how do you digest it all? And when you take me from when you walk out of that place to when you get in your car, what do you do? Do you have a routine you do? Or
I have a routine. It's not something
just,
I thought about.
Pump some music
I get out. Unless it's midnight or something, but most of the time when I get out, I'll call my wife, just touch base with her, let her know I'm coming home, and everything's good, and then I have about a 25-30 minute drive, and I'll just kind of play some music and kind of digress. I try to forget about the place the second I leave. Like,
Yeah.
to be honest,
Have you ever noticed moments when you brought it home, and you didn't even realize it, or did it ever come up at home or anything, or?
I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
maybe that's a better question for my wife. Like, maybe if I've had a bad day.
Where is she? Let's bring her in.
maybe if I've had a bad day, I've come home and
Just been
a little bit more irritable. But
yeah. For the most part.
Okay, that might have happened. That's probably happened. I've probably been more irritable. Like,
yeah, but I mean,
that's like a frustrating
everybody.
day. But I mean, I feel like that could happen with anybody.
Yeah,
you just
any
have
job.
A frustrating.
Oh
day.
yeah, tell me about it. I mean, I've been there.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
Like, your wife was probably.
When I
there
used to
too.
landscape, like something.
Oh
broke.
God! Don't even get me started.
Something broke. I'd be like, God, you
Yeah.
come home. It's just, you're already irritable. It's already like that. So yeah, I basically would. I do that. Take the drive home. Listen to some music. I try to not bring what I seen or anything at home. To be honest, I don't talk about work all that much. Like, sometimes my wife will ask me what happened and say, nothing.
I mean, that would get tiring though, because it's like every day you're gonna be like, oh, like you know, like where do I start? You know, it's like I mean, I imagine you don't want to. I imagine you don't want to talk about it.
Yeah,
either.
she's kind of caught on, and I'm not like.
Are you allowed to now? So can you contact her during your shift?
We're not supposed to have cell phones in there.
Now, what is the reason behind that? Is it to corruption?
Potentially, you lose it. An inmate ends up with it.
Yeah.
And they can make, because all their phone calls are monitors, so they can't. They can't have cell phones.
They do though, right? I mean, they still find ways to get cell phones in. I imagine. And do you guys do? Okay, how about corruption? Is that a thing? Like,
100%.
Is there like? Have you ever had any instances?
It's happened. Yeah, it's happened during my
there?
time where an inmate ended up with a cell phone that was given to him by a staff member, but
what are they just like paying him for it? I mean,
it had like with one example.
Somebody else on the outside is paying the how does that?
One example was it was an inmate and a counselor basically fell in love, almost like
like a counselor, meaning
because they have counselors in there, like they can
like
meet
therapist kind of counselor, like that type of stuff. And they fell in love, huh?
Apparently.
Wow. Love can find a way.
Yeah. Love finds a way all the time, yeah.
It's like fucking Jurassic Park or whatever. Life will find a way.
Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then she brought him in a cell phone, and eventually he was caught.
How else is he supposed to get nudie pics?
Exactly. I mean, you can't get Pornhub off friggin' commissary, so. But yeah, so he eventually got caught with his cellie, ratted him out to. We have like intel officers and stuff, but so eventually he got caught with it. But I'd like to think that they all don't have it. Like, that's not happening too often.
Yeah.
So we also, we shake down their cells.
How often do you do that?
So basically, you got to do like 3 a shift. I'm sorry. Not third shift.
Is that like a quota for you guys?
Yeah, like you have.
Your boss,
no, it's part of like
your higher ups are like, all right, did you do your 3 a day? Like, oh man.
It is, oh man, because I hate. There's nothing more I hate than doing shakedowns and stuff.
Why? What do you hate about it so much? Besides the fact that everything's filthy.
That's 100% the fact.
I imagine you wear gloves when you're doing it.
Yes, yes. Yeah. But it's basically like 2 grown men living in
what's in this
in a bathroom.
What's in this book here? Hold on, it's like this. They glued the pages together.
Living
like,
in a bathroom, like you lift a mattress and you just see skin flakes. And, man! And so, like I said, I'm in a mental health facility. They don't bathe the best. Like, they're not the best about showering themselves.
Well, I'd be afraid to take a shower too in a place like that.
I told you, they're in the stalls.
I know. I just still. You're like, man. Do they even get like flip flops or anything to wear in the showers?
Yes, they can order.
It's like, oh my gosh,
shoes.
like athletes' feet be running around that place like a muck.
Yeah.
When you're doing the searches and stuff in the like, what is in the cells? Like, what's the craziest thing that you found?
Craziest things I found. I personally haven't found a bunch of crazy things. Found some homemade or prison made liquor. Like they ferment some fruit, put it in bag with some water, do their own toilet bowl.
They do the toilet bowl. Yeah, everybody talks
they
about
do. I
toilet
found
bowl
some things
sangria.
like that. A classmate of mine from my academy class, he found a half an ear one time.
A half an ear.
Yeah.
Like an actual ear.
Yeah, like an ear.
Mike Tyson style.
Yeah. Spit out Holyfield's ear.
Like
right
I was
there.
going to say, that must be a millionaire's cellmate because he was able to afford Holyfield's ear.
Yeah, that was an interesting.
What now? Did you ever find out who the ear belonged to? I mean, I feel like
Yes,
I feel like that's a pretty easy math equation to do.
Yeah, it was.
Find the guy in the population missing an ear.
It might have been. To be honest, now that I think about it, it might have been after like a code and they had actually a fight, and the guy might have bit his ear off
and just
during
kept it
the
as
fight.
a trophy.
And then like we always pack their property and shake their cells down like after they get in trouble.
Yeah.
Get sent to seg. So that might have been what that was. Is they got into a fight and he found the ear, half the ear. Then
and just felt like it. What had happened here for nostalgia? I mean, was he a Vietnam vet by any chance?
I can't be sure.
So
I mean, there's been shanks that have been found.
Yeah, I was
gonna
say everybody wants to know like
some phones,
shanks,
some like some drugs. Like there's been some like cocaine and stuff like that.
Sex toys, anything?
I haven't found. Should I stop? Like,
yeah, we should stop.
That's probably fucking things up, right?
You can hear those drums, right? All right, so yeah, everybody wants to know shanks, like shanks, stuff like that. You said you didn't really find a lot.
I haven't personally found any.
Yeah.
I mean, throughout my time there, there's
so they're just really
dozens.
They're really well hidden.
There's dozens that have been found. It's just, and they can kind of scare you. Like you're like, holy, if that was intended for me.
Do you guys ever wear any type of protection, like bulletproof vest or anything, any type of like
The only
shank-proof material?
No, and I know a lot of other places, like different states, they do actually wear like a Kevlar.
Like a corset to make your man boobs look a little bit.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more jacked.
Kevlar, yeah.
A little tougher than you look. No, there are other states that do have those, like stab-proof vests, but we do not have them.
You don't have them? Is it a budget issue?
With our state, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, you guys, do you run into a lot of budget issues and stuff? I mean, with it?
Yeah, like we do have armed posts.
Yeah.
Like our lobby is armed. Like if anytime you're dealing with the general public that could actually bring in a weapon.
Yeah.
You're like.
I always forget about that you have all these visitors and everything.
Yeah, so if they could come in, like they could walk right into your lobby with a weapon. So you
got to almost treat them like they're inmates when they're coming in, or how does that go?
No, not necessarily treat them like inmates, but like just
you got to pat them down.
Be aware. No, they're. When they go in to visit the inmates, they clear a metal detector. They have to be cleared then. But, like, their interaction with the officer that's working in the lobby happens before the metal detector. So they could come in with a gun and just start shooting the place up.
Yep.
So, like, our lobby officer is always armed.
Yeah, okay.
And, like, for that, we have bulletproof vests. And we have a perimeter vehicle that drives around the...
And then you got the infamous sniper towers, right? I mean, you guys,
Not where I work, but
really?
Some of the... Throughout the state, some because ours isn't that big. There's some facilities that are just like compounds with acres, and they have the sniper towers. Ours, we have a perimeter vehicle, drives around all night, all day, all night. Is out there, and they have like.
Does that guy weigh like 300 pounds?
I've been out there.
I can only imagine just like having that job. Riding around in a car all day long, just driving 5 miles an hour. It's got to be the most boring. You're like, oh look, a rabbit.
It's funny. It is sort of boring, but it's also like the best post in the facility because really
you get out of the place.
Not much happens. You're out. You never see an inmate. You're not dealing with any inmates.
You can listen to my podcast while you're driving.
Exactly. You can have your phone. You can watch whatever you want. Listen to your podcast. You can. Odds are
they need like a Jurassic. They need like a Jurassic Park, like rail for that guy.
The day it goes bad is going to be the worst day to be out there. Like but
Yeah. I
it
mean,
doesn't happen very often. Like,
have you guys
nobody's
ever had an
escaped.
escapee? I was going to say, yeah. Have you ever
Not
attempted
since
attempts?
not since I've been there. To be honest, where I'm at, if anybody's ever going to escape, it's going to be assisted by somebody within the facility. There's no other, like, there's nobody in their cell digging.
Yeah.
There's no, like, digging a hole. There's no Shawshank thing going on.
No nudie posters that,
No,
you lift
no.
up and there's a hole in the wall. Like
Yeah,
the
there's no
cartoons.
Shawshank thing
No
going
Shawshank.
on, climbing through 500 yards of shit. No, it's impossible.
Yeah.
It's literally impossible.
So when
if
you
anybody ever gets out, it's going to be because they had an inside person
Yeah.
that somehow managed to let them out.
do you know all your coworkers like really well, or is it such a big thing and there's so many of you that you kind of just like?
I know, and we have so much new staff coming in.
So it's a high turnaround rate.
Yeah, especially where we are. Yeah.
So tell me about like a new guy who came in. So you've been doing this for like 8 years, right?
Uh-huh.
So now when you get like word that a new guy's coming in, do you all sit around like, oh, fresh meat, like like
No,
wait, let's see what this guy does, like 18 years old or 20 years old coming in and
I don't know. It's kind of like a bittersweet thing. Like a new guy comes in, we kind of like it.
because you
hopefully,
can make him
hopefully
do all
helps
the
us
you can make him
stop
do all the
getting-
shit you don't want to do.
Well, there's part of that. They're gonna get worse. They're gonna get worse posts. They're gonna get some of the worst
You're like,
posts.
sweet, I
just
might be able to
they're
move
brand
up.
new. Like seniority is king where we're like
Yeah.
in this job. But it's kind of bittersweet just because like they don't know anything, and it's like
Do you ever fuck
You
with
know
them?
they're
I mean,
gonna
do you
mess
guys
up.
fuck with each other? Like, is that a thing?
oh
Or
my
is it
God,
just,
we're
is it
fucking-
so serious? Or you,
No,
like,
no.
you guys,
This is,
you have a good time while you're trying?
I think that's why this job has worked for me, because it's just like having a good sense of humor and like fucking with people and,
amongst all this,
yeah.
like,
I mean, I have close.
evil,
Yeah, I have like,
and, like
close
murders.
knit. Yeah, like it's just like
I almost imagine you would have to do that in order to keep, sane in the place like that.
having a sense of humor is probably the. I'm glad I have a twisted kind of sense of humor, because it's probably the best thing that's helped me through this job. Like,
Yeah,
I can laugh about like things that are happening and like.
What's one thing that like what's a funny story like that that involved an inmate where you guys were just like
where
literally
I'm at,
dying laughing?
So where I'm at with the mental health, they do a lot of poop smearing. They smear their shit all the time.
I was wondering about that, and I was going to ask you: are you the guy who's got to clean that up sometimes?
Nope. There's those inmates you were asking about that make 7 cents an hour.
Oh my god!
They get paid 15 cents an hour to clean the shit.
15.
They get. I'm making up the numbers, but they get.
Yeah, but they get more.
They get paid extra to clean,
To
to do like a
poop
blood
duty.
spill or clean up poop.
Blood spill.
Yeah, they clean all that. We don't clean shit. We don't do that stuff.
I was going to say,
that's
what,
not
you got
us.
like an armed janitor,
Yeah,
guy walking
exactly.
around with
No.
a guy walking around with a mop with a.
like, all the units are cleaned by inmates. All the halls are cleaned by. We don't clean. We safety and security and.
And then the inmates do all the rest, and then like
they're hired to
They
do
work
that.
in the kitchen.
That's how they
too,
get money
right?
on their
Stuff like
commissary.
that.
Yeah, work in the kitchen. That's like a prize job, because they get the guys that work in the kitchen. They get extra food.
So can you think of a funny story, like something that?
Oh,
happened?
so the poop smearing.
Finger
there's this-
painting, as we'll call it.
Yeah, that actually is a kind of what we call it sometimes. So there's just one that wrote, "Fuck all COs."
Oh, that's good.
In the most perfect penmanship I've ever.
In the most perfect poopmanship.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I've never he like wrote it all over his cell window, like "fuck all COs," and it was the most immaculate handwriting I've
Did you
ever
ever go in and
witnessed.
find like a Monet? Or like a poupée?
I get to see them draw anything great, but I was flabbergasted by the.
Like, wow, this looks like a Salvador Dali. Like, look, he smeared the scream on his wall.
There was another time, not poop smearing, but like, so when guys first come in, because we're mental health, they're usually just completely off their rocker a lot of times, and they're put in this one unit, and I was assigned to this unit just this particular night. And I remember this one guy, 8 hours. Every time I had to tour the unit every 15 minutes, and every time I toured, he put his legs up around his head, flashed me his nutsack, and was just dying laughing. Dying. And I was like, I laughed. I'm like,
God.
oh, this is pretty funny. This is pretty funny.
That's funny. That
and
is
like
funny.
for the first hour, I'm like, all right, now it's getting,
You got me.
It's getting old.
It's like the circle thing with the with the fingers
exactly.
that people do, and they
Like,
get you to look at it.
Yeah.
You know.
And I'm like, this is pretty funny.
It sounds like an
Then
episode.
2 hours in, like, all right.
It sounds like the movie Waiting. Like, where they're like, hey, and they turn around, and you just see their
he
balls.
flashed me with the goat.
The goat. Yeah.
Maybe for the first 2 hours, I'm like, all right, this is pretty. All right, it's getting old. And
I don't know if you knew
then
this
his
about the movie,
commitment-
but there was a prison guard that was on the writing crew of that movie.
Was it?
No, I'm just
Oh,
kidding.
I would believe it, because that would make sense. Like I was saying, the first 2 hours, I'm like, all right, this is getting old. But then, like, 6 hours in, I'm like, this guy's commitment. Like, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen. Like, still dying laughing 6 hours later. The commitment to this joke. This guy.
So do you think he obviously knew what he was doing, right? I mean, and there's nothing you can do about that, right? You can't do anything about it, right?
Yeah.
You're just like, this guy, like, he got me. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I gotta check in on him, so every time he knows I gotta check in on him, so
Yeah,
he knows
I'm gonna walk by.
He
look
knows
at
I gotta look at his balls.
I have to
every
look in
time.
his cell.
And he's like, you know what? Fuck this guy. Yeah, if he's gonna, like, that's almost like brilliant in a way, because it's like, you know.
Yeah, he knows I'm going to look in and I'm going to see his balls and we're going to do this again in 15 minutes. I don't,
I guess, you know, when you got nothing better to do, you know.
that's one thing I've gone numb to is the male genitalia.
Seeing the male genitalia. It is what it is, right? You see,
you got to do strip searches and all that stuff. And
God, do you have to do cavity searches?
No, we don't do that. No.
At all, ever?
No, we don't have to spread any cheeks ourselves.
No cheek
or
spreading.
anything like that.
No delousing.
No, we don't do that. No.
No hose
Although
spraying?
we should probably, because we've had lice outbreaks with some of the guys. But
Oh man, what is that's like? You got to worry about bringing that home too.
oh God, you just hope that you're not in that
So
block
you
that
have
day. It's like,
I
please don't
imagine
be in the...
you have like a locker room, right? And you like change before you go home. Do you leave your uniform at?
we have a locker room.
Or you're just
Sometimes
like,
you
I'm gonna
change.
leave all
Sometimes
this
you
filth
change.
and
It's every
everything.
day. There's days like where like right now, like I said, I'm in the main control center. I don't see an inmate all day. I see them on the camera, but I never physically. I'm not as close as me and you to an inmate all day.
Yeah.
So like those days, I'll go home and take a shower. I might wear the pants again because I just sat in like a chair like this.
Yeah, why not?
And
What's a little fart residue?
Yeah. It's a little fecal matter in your pants. I mean, jeez, it's
You're just gonna add more
better
fart.
than wasting time.
You're just gonna right. Oh man. So I guess one of the things I want to ask you too is like, you know, being on the show again. You have the opportunity to, you know, you're out there to the world right now. So is there anything that you would want to say to people about your job or what you're doing, and like maybe you want to correct a stereotype or something to that effect, or
if I was gonna say something to the general public, and
don't do drugs, kids.
yes, I mean that might actually be number one.
There's a Steve McGruff. Stay the fuck out of jail.
But it's not even necessarily to all the public, but there's a conception that I don't know, that these guys like have a bad rap and they need more rec time. They need to have more privileges and stuff. And
yeah, I've heard that. I mean, it's a hot topic.
I personally, all these guys, 99% of them are in there because they deserve to be in there, and they're not good people. They're bad people.
What can you tell me? What would you like? Can you tell me what the most heinous person in there, or like, do you guys have like a Hannibal Lecter? Do you have like that one guy that like always in isolation, like scary, like mind, like you're afraid he's gonna kill your family through his stare? Like,
I mean,
do you have like one particular inmate?
Not necessarily maybe because of their big crimes, but stuff they've done inside, assaulted staff multiple times, consistently, habitually assault staff all the time. Seriously injured officers.
Well, you figure they got nothing to lose. They're in there for life. What are they going to do? Tack on a few more years?
Yeah.
To their 999,
exactly.
and then they're going to make it 1,000.
Yeah.
1,050. You know,
for that. Go for the 1,000. See if you can get
shit,
to 1K.
man, I'm going to go for 5.
But you got that, and
biters, like stuff like that. You guys have biters.
All that.
Like you gotta worry about those guys too. Like people trying to bite you or spit on you, or I mean,
spit is the worst. Guys throwing shit through their cell door at you, piss at you. Like, I've
weapons of
never
weapons of bodily function.
Punch me in the face before you throw a thing of piss at me.
Turd, eh?
Or
you got pink eye for a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, joke's on you, motherfucker. Now I get time off.
No, not like that. I don't want that time off. Punch me in the face, do whatever. Do that before throwing shit, pissing, spit at me. That's the worst of it all.
Do you wear masks too when you're in there? I mean, God, if I were you, I'd be wearing like safety glasses. I'd be wearing a mask. I'd be wearing.
It depends on like what's going. I mean,
or like one of those clear shields that you see everybody wearing.
Since COVID, we've had to wear masks, but before that, we never.
Like it would be like like one of those like riot
like if
gear,
we're doing
riot gear, basically a poop shield.
If we're doing like a cell extraction,
yeah.
Like if we have to, for some reason, somebody's being unsafe and they won't come out of their cell.
Yeah.
We have to go in and take them out. Then we wear full-fledged.
You will put on like a clear
gas mask because we're using
tear gas, right?
Crazy amount of it's not tear gas, but just a crazy amount of mace, pepper spray.
Oh, okay.
Crazy amount of that.
Oh, so you're
But you can't go in there. You can't breathe if you go in there with that. Like
yeah.
But some of these guys, they'll still fight. They won't like. What we want is them to give up, come to the trap door, which is basically like a little small door that we feed them through, and let us put cuffs on them and then come out.
And then
But some of them don't do that. They'll just keep going, and we have to assemble a team, which consists of 5 of us. One guy comes in with a huge riot shield, which is usually the biggest guy you can think of, to just fucking smash this dude when we go in. And then followed in by 4 other guys, and we take him down. And we have to eventually drag him out of the cell.
Who's your biggest coworker?
Oh, God.
Like, I mean, you have 7-footers in there?
No 7-footers, but there's plenty of 350-pound linemen that just get behind that.
I'm
small. I'm a small guy there most of the time.
Yeah, really.
Like, especially for stuff like that. I'm never the shield guy. I'm never the guy in the shield. I can tell you that.
You got to work up to that, Steve.
Yeah.
You got to start eating some more donuts or something.
I eat plenty of them. I can't
Maybe you should start eating some more jail food. Because it seems to be working for them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Maybe that's a key.
Maybe that's it.
I'll spend a year
There's something in that
I'll spend a year in there.
So the message for the public, I mean, so you would say that the guys they're there for a reason.
They're there, they're there for a reason, and
I mean, you're also in like a max security, right, or like a higher security.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're in like a lower security.
Yeah.
Where that I think that issue, would you agree, is more like with the lower securities and stuff. Like
we're seeing those effects with us.
Yeah.
The people just fighting for these guys to get more freedoms. Be out of the cell more.
Yeah.
And all it's doing...
Well, that's crazy, because you're the one who actually sees them every day and deals with them and knows what you're... Like, the truth behind...
It's really... All it really is doing... We've seen so many more staff assaults go up since they've started this, is putting people who... Officers and stuff that aren't committing crimes, that haven't done things, in more danger. We're right in the center of it. And these guys are coming out for 5 hours a day.
So when you walk into that room, do you think that those guys can, do you have to, like, like some people, there's that conception about dogs where if there's a vicious dog around you that they tell you don't act afraid because they'll smell fear or whatever. Do those inmates, would you say that they smell 100%. Fear and they could pick up on when you're having an off day or something?
They know who a weak officer is.
Like, you're like, oh, like, Steve's a little hungover today. Maybe we
I
can
don't know
take maybe we can take advantage of him.
I don't know if they catch that. I try not to be hungover there because it's
Well,
it's
obviously,
happened
yeah.
a couple times and it's just not comfortable to be hungover there. I usually will go hungover if I know I have a nice post the next day.
Right, you're sitting in that.
If I'm in the perimeter and I'm not going to see an inmate,
yeah,
I can maybe operate a motor vehicle.
but they would. So I'd imagine. Otherwise, you're going to go to jail.
Yeah, they
take them in, boys.
we got him. No, they 100% do though. They know weak officers. They know the ones that are afraid in there that like can't tell them no because.
What's the fastest person you've seen come into the job and leave?
They're
like has there been like 1 day guys?
Oh, 100%.
Like where they come in and they're like they crap their pants basically and
during the academy they do you do like 3 days on the academy and they do a sight sense they call it. You come in and they bring you to and you get escorted around the facility. They show you everything. They bring you all around. There are people who quit after that. Like, no, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
And actually, I'll be honest, I respect that more than the people who try to stick it through and come in and just are pussies. Sorry for
if it's snowflake, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Yeah, they come.
I imagine that almost it's going to endanger the entire crew. You know,
100%.
Because
100%.
if they get an altercation, then you guys got to go in and everything.
You can't trust that person to have your back at all, and that's not a good feeling to have you with your partner.
Yeah, I mean that's the mental. There's got to be such a mental aspect. I couldn't even imagine like going into it.
I mean, there are times you walk in and you see who your partner is.
I mean, Tiger King eats your heart out. I mean, that guy.
Yeah. You can walk in and see your partner and be like, shit, this isn't going to be a good day. I hope nothing goes wrong because this person will not have my back.
Do you think your wife worries about you?
I hope she worries about me.
Do you think she should?
Yeah,
she should worry about you?
She definitely does. I forget. We were watching some show that was actually kind of. I used to. Part of that reason I got into corrections too. I used to watch all these prison shows, and I kind of got out of it because I'm like, this isn't. Once I got the job, I'm like, this isn't really accurate at all. But we watched a prison show together.
See, that's a good message to the public right there. I mean, the fact that those prison shows aren't exactly accurate.
Yeah, they're
because
not.
That's what everybody is.
Orange is the New Black.
Oh yeah.
So not accurate. There's.
Yeah.
I mean, that's obviously for an entertainment type purpose and
Yeah.
stuff. But we watched one. I can't remember what the heck it was, and like she's like, "This is like kind of stuff happen." I'm like, "Yeah, this is actually pretty close to what goes on in a correctional prison."
Yeah, I mean, you're literally putting your life at risk every single day.
Yeah.
That you go to work. I mean, you probably try not to think about it like that. I mean.
Yeah, it's not really a thought on your mind, but it is.
It's
It
reality.
is a possibility.
It's absolutely a reality.
Where something could happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't know. And I think that's what I still kind of do get nervous when I go in because you just don't
never
ever
know
what really will happen when you go in. But,
and does she support you in this job, or does she want you to go work at Starbucks?
No, she supports me in the job, and she's been great.
You plan on finishing this out? Like doing it for good?
I eventually would like to get out of like what I'm doing now. I personally, there's like a K9 unit that I've put in for a couple times. It's hard to get, but
a K9 with the prison in the prison.
Yeah, like the Department of Corrections has their own K9 unit.
Okay, what are the dogs for? I mean, what would that job entail?
Like the dogs, sometimes use them for shakedowns. Like they sniff out drugs.
Uh-huh.
You use them for cell extractions. Like you send a dog in there first. Like the scary shit is from the dogs.
What would be the reason for doing that?
For using the dogs?
No, for you wanting to go into the K9 unit. Do you just like dogs?
Yeah, I love dogs. I have a shepherd myself.
You ever watch Snatch?
No.
No, you never seen the movie? Oh.
No.
You like dogs? Yeah, he likes dogs.
No, but I literally have a shepherd myself. I just love working with dogs and.
Oh, you do? You have a shepherd?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you're halfway there.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he's 9, so he's probably not going to be used.
Yeah.
But
and would you take that dog home with you too? On the K9?
Yeah. Eventually, you get to. Yeah, they come home.
Huh. But you can't just like treat it like you can't be feeding the people food and stuff like that.
No, I don't think
It's pretty strict, right? I mean, it's a working
they
dog.
you go through the whole state police academy,
Canine unit,
and canine academy, and everything. Like they're legitimately.
Now, if you wanted to, have you ever thought about what if you wanted to become a police officer? Have you ever thought about doing that?
It's a thought.
Where are you a step ahead?
I think I would be a step ahead in getting the job. Yes.
Yeah.
Like, just they like
In training and
the
stuff
fact
like
that we have that kind of experience within the facility and kind of law enforcement type.
Is that a goal for you, or are you just going to stick with the?
It's not a goal. It's a thought. I don't know. I kind of like the corrections. I don't know if I want to do a state police academy and be involved with the public. And nobody in the correctional facility, hopefully, no inmates have cell phones, and every time you do something, they're recording it.
Oh yeah, it's definitely changed.
It's so I feel like it's so hard to be a cop right now. And I respect.
I could only I agree. Right now. I agree.
And you're under a microscope.
You're putting your life on the line for in a whole different way, in multiple ways.
Yeah,
If you make the wrong decision,
you'll be doing 999 years.
Next thing you know, you're in the same place.
Yeah.
You're like, hey Bob, I'm on the other side of the fence now. Please be nice.
Exactly.
And I would definitely tell you to get the soap with the grip tape on it.
The
most exfoliating sandpaper type soap if you ever did become a police officer. Quick question, also, do you have any cops in there?
Inside the prison?
Yeah.
Any not where we're at, but we have like PC units. They're called I don't know.
No, I mean like actual prisoners.
No, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
There's inmates that used to be cops, used to be corrections officers.
Really?
And most of the time they're put in they're in a not in our prison. They're in another prison in the state. But
I imagine they got to kind of keep them away from everybody else because that's a fucking death sentence.
There's inmates that will know that you used to be a CO.
Yeah, and they're like, oh my god, that's like literally that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, they're kept separate.
Like solitary or...
Not solitary.
They just keep all the old ex-cops in one...
Because they get their same recreations and stuff.
Yeah.
They get to do stuff. Just they're kept together because they're law enforcement. It keeps them safe instead of.
Yeah, that's crazy because I would have never. I've always thought about it. You hear about these cops getting jail time, especially with Floyd that just happened.
For example, he will not be put with just general population.
Because I was like, oh my god, that's
you
might as well just say
here's the sharks.
Death sentence.
Here's the sharks.
You know what I mean?
No.
You might as well just put the guy in the electric chair.
No, there's no chance he could ever get put with something like that.
Because at least when you're getting lethal injection, you're not getting anything shoved up your ass while you're being murdered.
Yeah, at least just close your eyes.
At least not that I know of.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe that's a special request. I don't know.
Yeah. So. Also, one of the things I like to do is I ask my 5-year-old son every show. I ask him if he has a question for my guests. So I asked my 5-year-old son. I said, "Do you have any questions for a prison guards corrections officer today?" And his question was, tractor. Tractor. That was.
Was there a question mark at the end of tractor?
I don't know. It was just tractor. so I guess that's a hard. I know that's probably one of the most difficult questions I've asked you today.
Wow. That's hard hitting.
So what do you think about tractor?
Oh man. Well, I guess I wish maybe we were in the deep south and we had some some prison work things, so we could have a tractor and plow some fields or something, but
not a whole lot of agriculture going on in the prison.
We have some people who mow the lawn.
Any inmates?
Maybe we could use a better lawnmower. Actually, we actually could use better lawn equipment and. Maybe a tractor with a nice brush hog at the end.
Did they allow them to use that too? Because I feel like that might be.
There are special.
I feel like that might be a bad idea.
They're inmates who are on the verge of coming, their sentence is almost over, and they're not going to try to escape.
Those are the ones they put on the motorized vehicle with the spinning blades.
Yes, they're the ones on the outside grounds because them trying to escape is going to add 5 years to their 2-month sentences left. So
Yeah.
So yeah, detractor. Yeah, I mean,
And I
feel like our field around there was pretty high. So like a tractor with a brush hog would be probably pretty good to have.
but I guess
Maybe we can start haying.
one of my other questions too is and because you just said that, you said that you guys in there with like 2 months left. Do the other inmates fuck with them to try and get more time on them? Is it like that? Like is it like a black
They
hole
don't really get to
where they're
interact
like,
with them.
where they hear or feel or sense that somebody's getting out and they're like, fuck this guy, I'm gonna ruin his life.
No.
Like,
most of the time,
misery loves company.
Most of the time,
you
I
know?
see like they're happy for the guys that are going to get out. Most of the time, I've seen that, and the guys like that I'm talking about, they have that like special work detail, and they are allowed to like do outside work. They're kept separate from they're kept together, so it's only like all the guys that have that special outside work detail, they live together, so they're not going to fuck with each other.
Yeah.
And they don't really interact with the other.
It's like everybody
like
the finish line is close, man. Everybody just be cool.
Yeah. That is. Don't stir the dust.
Nobody
please.
do anything. Just chill out, man. Yeah. I am 2 months away from a real cigarette.
Don't even sneeze.
From real sangria. Not in a toilet bowl.
Exactly.
Oh man, well, we're out of time, but I just want to thank you for coming in today, and I want to thank my listeners as well, and I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Jobs Not Steve, even though today it was Jobs with Steve. And Steve, thanks again for coming in.
I appreciate it.
And sharing
Thank you
this.
for having me.
And everybody, just tune in next week for a new perspective on a new job. And Steve, you got so much to talk about. I'd like to invite you back sometime.
Yeah.
So.
Let me know.
We can keep talking. Well, we'll give you some time to get some more stories.
That's...
And I want to say good luck, man. Good luck in your job and everything else. And I hope this has been fun for you.
This was a blast. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Steve.
Thanks.